مجمع الأندلس التعليمي، تعلم عصري ملهم بهوية وطنية وقيم إسلامية.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi, dear students. This is again Mr. Mohanned with you with a new lesson. It's grammar. Open your students book, page 118, exercise A and B, and your workbook should be on page 100, exercise B. We have three objectives for today's lesson, and they are: 1. Answer 2 questions after reading the examples provided. 2. Rewrite 5 sentences using the words given. And the final one, rewrite 6 sentences, this time using the words given, the same as objective 2. Today's lesson is grammar. It's about prefer, would rather, or prefer, would prefer, and would rather. Let's begin. First of all, we have a video to watch. We are going to watch it, and then we are going to answer this one question.
Well, in this video, we're going to talk about prefer and would rather. Prefer to do or prefer doing is used to say what somebody prefers in general. For example, I don't like cities. I prefer to live in the country, or I prefer living in the country. Now, study the difference in structure after prefer. We can say I prefer something to something else. I prefer doing something to doing something else, but I prefer to do something rather than do or something else. Further example, I prefer this coat to the coat you were wearing yesterday. I prefer driving to traveling by train, but I prefer to drive rather than travel by train. And prefers to live in a country rather than live or without live in a city. Secondly, we will be tackling would prefer, abbreviated I apostrophe D prefer. We use would prefer to say what somebody wants in a particular situation, but here, not in general. For example, would you prefer tea or coffee? Coffee, please, can be that answer. And of course, it is said would prefer to do, not doing. Shall we go by train? Well, I would rather prefer to go by car. No, I'd rather prefer going. I would prefer to stay at home tonight rather than go to the cinema. After would rather, you can use an infinitive without to. For example, rather, would rather do. We got an example here. Shall we go by train? I would prefer to go by car. Or I would rather go by car, not to go. So, would you rather have tea or coffee? Coffee, please. The negative form of would rather is would rather not. Got in the fourth example here. I am tired. I would rather not go out this evening. If you don't mind. Do you want to go out this evening? I would rather not. Now study the structure after would rather. I would rather do something than something else. I'd rather stay at home tonight than go to the cinema. I would rather you did something. When you want somebody to do something, you can say, I would rather you did something. Should I stay here? I would rather you came with me. Should I tell them the news? No, I'd rather they didn't know. Should I tell them, or would you rather they didn't know? In this structure, we use the past, came, did, etc., but the meaning is present or future, not past. Compare now. I'd rather cook the dinner now, but I'd rather you cook the dinner now, not I'd rather you cook. And here the negative is I'd rather you didn't. For example, I'd rather you didn't tell anyone what I said. Do you mind if I smoke? I'd rather you didn't. So guys, thank you again for watching this video. Until next time, bye bye.
Okay, dear students, having watched this video, the question is, what does the past simple in the previous example or examples refer to? Well, I think it refers to the present or the future. Again, the past simple in these examples refer to present or future. Grammar: prefer, would rather. Read the examples below and answer the questions. A. I prefer the white trainers. B. I prefer wearing casual clothes to wearing formal clothes. As you can see, dear students, here, the person who said this statement, he prefers wearing casual clothes to wearing formal clothes, which means that wearing casual clothes is more appealing for him than wearing formal clothes. C. Muna prefers to shop online rather than shop in shops. Muna here, or shops or shopping online is more preferable to Muna than shopping in real shops. D. I'd prefer to buy a new smartphone rather than buy or without a tablet. Speaker D here is saying that, or buying a new smartphone for him is more preferable than buying a tablet. E. I'd rather buy the white trainers. F. We'd rather not spend any more money. G. I'd rather shop online than shop in shops. Okay, now we move on to the next slide. Which examples show a general preference? I'll go back again and give you time to answer, or you can pause the video here and try to find the answer yourself. Which examples show a general preference? A general preference, dear students? They are B, C, and G. Okay. B, this one is B. I prefer wearing casual clothes to wearing formal clothes. This is general preference. C, Muna prefers to shop online rather than shop in shops. This is also general preference. And the final one is G. I'd rather shop online than shop in shops. Okay. The next one. Which examples show a preference in a particular situation? I think the rest show a preference in the particular situation. So they are A, D, E, and F. Okay, we have an exercise to do. Let's click the link. Wait. And here it is. I prefer coffee than tea to tea rather than tea. I think it's 2. I prefer coffee to tea. I don't fancy the theater again. I'd rather go to the cinema. To go to the cinema or going, I think it's go. Yes. Although I love relaxing on beaches, I think I prefer walking. I'm not a big fan of cars. I prefer travel or traveling. It should be traveling. And if I had a choice, I think I'd rather live, or to live. I think it should be B. Live in Paris than in London. Rather is followed by a bare infinitive. They'd rather have lunch inside. As you can see here, the students they'd rather have. This is a bare infinitive, not having and not to have. They'd rather have lunch inside, but prefer when it is preceded by would. This is the short form of I would. But I'd prefer eating, no. Eat, no. It should be to eat. Okay, I'd rather speak to him in person, things over the phone. I'd rather speak to him in person. If it is prefer, it would be to discuss, so it should be than. Yes, rather is related to than, or than is related to rather. I'd rather work outdoors in the office. Yes, as I said, rather is related to than and than is related to rather. This is a private matter. I'd rather you anyone else. As I asked, or as we saw in the starter slide, the past simple refers, as we said, to the present or future. Again, let's read it again. This is a private matter. I'd rather you wasn't telling, no, don't tell, this is present. And we said that the past simple refers to present. So it should be didn't tell. Yes, correct. The weather here isn't bad, but I'd rather it a little warmer. It was or it were. I think both of them is correct, but one of them is better. Let's see was first. Yes, it was. Let's go back to our slides. Okay, rewrite the sentences starting with the words given. I don't want to talk to Mike right now. Okay, dear students, you can pause here and try by yourself. Then you can check by resuming the video. The first one, I'd rather not talk to Mike right now. 2, I'd rather have some tea than coffee. I'd prefer, it should be followed by 2 immediately. I'd prefer to have some tea rather than coffee. 3, most people don't like reading in evenings. They'd rather watch TV. Most people prefer is followed by a gerund, so it should be reading. Most people prefer watching, I think. Yes, watching TV in the evening to reading, and 2 is related to prefer. Or you can say, most people prefer to watch TV in the evenings rather than read. 4, I think Sultan likes swimming more than playing hockey. I think Sultan prefers swimming, it should be swimming, to playing hockey, maybe. Swimming to playing hockey, that's right. Or to swim rather than play hockey. 5, we prefer to live in the countryside rather than in the city. We'd rather live in the countryside than in the city, or live in the countryside than live in the city. That's optional. Okay, you can do the exercise again, dear students. This is the link here, but we are going to the next slide. This is workbook, I think. So rewrite the sentences starting with the words given. I'd rather buy this shirt when it's on sale. You can pause here, dear students, and check by yourself. 1, I'd prefer to buy this shirt when it's on sale. We cannot say here I'd prefer buying, because prefer here is preceded by would. Sahar would prefer not to get up early tomorrow. Sahar would rather not get up early tomorrow. Kareem likes reading a good book before he goes to bed. Kareem prefers here is not preceded by would, so you can use gerund here. prefers to read a good book before he goes to bed, or reading a good book before he goes to bed. This is correct. I think Steve likes playing football more than basketball. I think Steve prefers to play football rather than play basketball, or playing football to playing basketball. We'd prefer to visit Souk Waqif tomorrow. We'd rather visit Souk Waqif tomorrow. Tariq wants to travel abroad this summer. Tariq would rather travel abroad this summer. Okay, dear students, you can use would rather in sentences, and you can send me these sentences on WhatsApp. Thank you, dear students, for paying attention, and see you next time.